Okay. All right, here we go. Alrighty, so what we want to do today is just talk a little bit about retail trends we're seeing on a national level and how that might affect Aiken. Our company is based out of Birmingham, Alabama. We do consulting with municipalities. We have over 100 municipalities we work with in about 18 states. So a little bit about what we want to cover is what we're seeing on a national level and then obviously how that's going to affect you. So certainly appreciate you being here on the Good Friday, carving out some of your time, and especially if you have the day off. It's been so fun. We had a great dinner at Malia's last night, and I saw some of the shops downtown. And after having the invitation to the Nut House tomorrow, I might just stay here a couple more days and go shopping this afternoon and go to a birthday party. So I love what you're doing here. I used to work at a Chamber of Commerce in Middle Tennessee, and it's fun work and, you know, just supporting the community. This is an incredible turnout, and it's so critical to the community to have your support and the businesses here, and you have an awesome leadership. And so the time we've spent in Aiken has just been incredible. It's really exciting. So you definitely have a very vibrant retail base here. You know, it's a good mix of locals and nationals. So that is very exciting. Your downtown is just off the charts. It's wonderful, and that's really the heartbeat and the character of a community. So it was a lot of fun spending some time there last night. Let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing on a national level. We're going to talk about the economic impact of retail and then some national trends and then some best practices to get new retail to town. So this is the National Retail Federation, and traditional thinking in economic development was that what you do is you go after those high-paying jobs, that industrial recruitment, and you get those jobs in, the rooftops follow that, and then retail follows that. Retail takes care of itself. Well, 1 in 4 jobs in America are retail-based. There's a huge emphasis on retail, and what smart municipalities have done is realize they need to focus on retail as well. If they have a vibrant retail community, that's really going to help them in all aspects of the community. It brings a high quality of life, and it helps with the industrial recruitment, and it just makes the citizens happy, and it helps with the sales tax base as well. So 1 in 4 jobs in America is a retail job. If you look at jobs full-time between the age of 25 to 54, they actually pay more than non-retail jobs. So a lot of, if you take every retail job in America, that average wage drops a little bit because you have a lot of part-time jobs, seasonal jobs, temporary jobs, but those full-time jobs within that age group actually pay more than non-retail jobs. So it is worth it to focus on retail, not just for the quality of life aspect, but for the jobs aspect. A lot of retailers, and this is, I know the screen's a little bit small and hard to see, but within each of these boxes, this is what a retailer might do on average in sales volume. So I was blown away the first time I started looking at the annual sales volume of a retailer and seeing that an average fast food restaurant is going to do $1 million a year. An average Target's going to do $45 million a year. And you see the jobs it creates as well. You know, most fast food restaurants are around 20 jobs, and a Target can employ as much as 300 people. So the emphasis on retail, even though there's more smaller hits, it ultimately adds up to a huge win for our community. So it is important to focus on it. This is from the International Council of Shopping Centers. This is our leading trade organization. They have about 68,000 members, and they do research, advocacy, networking, and education. And this is some of their research. This is a pie chart that shows you the types of shopping centers, the GLA, gross leasable space. And that navy blue and that red are all convenience centers and strip centers. So these are the types of shopping centers where you go on a Tuesday night on your way home from work, and you're going to go through, it's a grocery anchored center typically with your Chinese buffet, your nail salon, your dry cleaners, your gym. Those are the majority of retail shopping centers in the country are within that category. A lot of communities we work with want an outlet mall. This research will be updated next year, but the current number they have is 193 outlet malls in the country. So there's not a lot. It's that tiny little sliver in the middle. That's the outlet mall. So when you're looking at a retail strategy for your community, it is really focusing on that shop space, the convenience type retail, and that's really where it adds up to a big impact. This is a pretty amazing statistic. In America, there's an argument that we are very saturated when it comes to retail. There's almost 24 square feet of retail space per person. Anybody want to take a guess what that number is in Italy? It's 24 in America. What is it in Italy? two square feet of retail per person. We are very saturated in America. The argument comes out that maybe we're under demolished as opposed to, additional retail will be built. It is going to happen, and there's a lot of vacancy that's out there, and there's a lot of questions out there about what do we do with all this retail space that is vacant. Good news is we've made it through the recession, and those vacancy rates are dropping dramatically and are actually getting pretty tight. So that's very positive. Let's look at some of the concepts that are declining right now. These are some of them, and a lot of this is a result of e-commerce. If you look at your office supply stores, your bookstores, what did Amazon do to the bookstores? It really hurt it. We're buying online. You look at different video stores. What did Netflix do to Blockbuster? So a lot of the bricks and mortar locations that are declining or closing are the ones where we can go online and more conveniently buy that product. Now, which ones are increasing? Well, let me give you this reference first. Radio Shack, for instance. You see where they're closing multiple locations across the country. This is an ad from 1991 for Radio Shack. You see here that if you were to buy these 13 products on this ad with inflation today, it would cost you over $5,000. Every single item on this ad can be found and used in your smartphone. So this is a good example of how technology is really changing the way bricks and mortar expand. If they don't adapt and change and grow with the technology, they will die. So let's look at some of the concepts that are expanding right now. Fast food, fast casual, and upscale dining. What you don't see here is casual dining. Casual dining is Darden Brands, Brinker, those types of restaurants where you go in and you have table service, and they're the same restaurant across the country, Chili's, Applebee's, those type of brands are not doing very well right now. And what we told the marketplace during the recession was that we wanted value and convenience more than anything else. And those are the type of places where you have to sit down, you don't really control your time, and you have to leave extra money. The fast casual, which is the Panera, Chipotle, Moe's Southwest Grill, those where you can go in, you can get a good quality product, and you can have as much time or as little time as you want at your seat, and you don't have to leave an extra tip. We love that. That is what's growing right now. That's what America's spending their money on. Now, the upscale dining, that is more of your local restaurants, the farm-to-table type restaurants. We want that experience, and we all pride ourselves on being foodies now, right? So you want to take a picture of your dish and put it on Instagram. That's what we're seeing more and more of is that unique experience with the local dining. So they're doing pretty well also. Now, the smaller footprint of grocery stores and the organic style of grocery store, the healthy, there's that big healthy movement that is really popping up with the groceries. Anything with fitness, they're really growing right now. So you're seeing a lot in those categories. Pet supplies, I loved, what's it, Downtown Doggy back here? What we found was during the recession that pet concepts actually are recession-proof. There's a lot of baby boomers, empty nesters now, that are bringing in their pets to kind of replace their children, and they love to spoil them. Some people in here might be able to relate to that, and are pretty happy with that move. So they love to spoil their pets, so you're seeing more and more money being spent on pets, and pets concepts doing very well, especially if it's like a doggy day spa or organic treats, that type of stuff, sort of the high-end level. Let's look a few more. One of them to point out is auto dealerships, and this is one that has to do with pent-up demand in the marketplace. During the recession, we were scared, we saved our money, right? So we just repaired items as opposed to replacing them. Well, now consumer confidence is up, we're getting back out there, we're spending our money again, we're buying new cars, we're buying new furniture, we're doing remodels that we put off for 10 years, and so that's where a lot of the money's being spent. And sporting goods, that's one concept that is actually growing their bricks and mortar location as opposed to shrinking it. We're doing a lot with sports right now, it's very, very active. So let's talk about a few big retailers that are affecting the marketplace today. You see the Sears and Kmart. They're closing about 235 stores. Any of their spaces that is in A real estate, which is about 20% of their real estate, they're just getting eaten up really quick. A lot of retailers are looking for that vacant space. They want it. And so every Sears and Kmart pretty much across the country is on death watch. And so, but it's good real estate, so people are taking that. Radio Shack, they're selling about 1,500 to 2,400 stores. There's a lot of questions. They're doing some co-branding on about 1,700 of these with Sprint. And there's been a lot of analysts that have recommended that Amazon actually buy the Radio Shack real estate, because that's a way of almost operating as a fulfillment center. So Amazon can ship directly to that store and give them immediate bricks and mortar footprint throughout the entire country. That has not been confirmed, it's just been recommended by analysts. JCPenney is still recovering, but they're definitely on a death watch as well, and I know that Aiken definitely feels that. Let's talk a little bit about Target. Target quit expanding in the United States, put all their focus on Canada, and went up there and then said, oops. Yeah, they closed 133 stores in Canada, $5.4 billion loss up there. They estimated it would be 2025 before they would break even, so they just pulled out. So they're going to come back and start focusing on the United States again, which I think is very encouraging. Right now they're doing more of a smaller footprint in urban markets, major metropolitan markets, and that's what they're doing right now. We're going to continue to monitor them and see what happens. And they also had a data breach. So Target's in trouble right now, but they'll recover. They're on the path to correction. So Walmart, this is kind of an interesting thing that we've seen. Walmart Supercenter. So most of those stores are over 180,000 square feet, large stores. So what happened over the past 5 years is Dollar General's come in and said, we'll live off Walmart's crumbs. We're going to barbell the Walmart and tap into the convenience. So we're going to get on either side of that and have about a 9,000 square foot prototype. So you can pull right up in the Dollar General, run in, get your product, get in your car and go home. Real easy, convenient. You think about a shopping experience at Walmart. You park way out in the parking lot, you walk all the way in, you go a mile to the back right corner to get your milk, and then you walk all the way back up. If you're anything like me, you pick up 6 items you don't need. And you get to the cash register, and there's one of them open, right? And 20 minutes later, you have your gallon of milk, and it's just a frustrating shopping experience, right? So what's happened here is that Dollar General has really pinged Walmart. And so Walmart's come out and said, okay, we're going to come up with a small footprint as well. So they have 2 different ones. One of them is Neighborhood Market, that's about a 30,000 to 40,000 square foot grocery store. And then they also have the Walmart Express, which is about 15,000 square feet. And it's more like a CVS. It has a gas station, it has pharmacy, it's a very small, and it looks more like a Dollar General looks. If y'all haven't been in a new Dollar General, they're actually really sharp. So I'd recommend it. Definitely do that. Family Dollar. This is a good example of how fast changing the retail industry is. I would say that it's the most dynamic and fastest changing of all the commercial real estate sectors. And this is one example. Last year, Family Dollar in January, going to do 500 new stores in the country. In April, going to close 370 stores. Then in August, Dollar Tree comes in and says, we're going to buy you out, Family Dollar, for $8.5 billion. Dollar General comes in and says, wait, we want in on this, and they offer $9.7 billion. Federal Trade Commission comes in and says, okay, their shoppers are too much the same between Family Dollar and Dollar General. There's a different shopper between Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. So what the Federal Trade Commission said was, well, Dollar General, you're going to have to close 4,000 stores if you buy out Family Dollar. So what ultimately happened was Dollar Tree bought out Family Dollar. So at some point, these dollar stores have to reach a level of saturation. Dollar Tree is going to do about 725 new stores this year. Every 5 hours in America, a new dollar store opens. Yep. So by the time you're out golfing this afternoon, then a new dollar store would have opened. So it's a lot. It's definitely going to reach a level of saturation. Now, here is the planned unit growth, and this is, my source is BTZ here. I do think that there's an error in the dollar category, but otherwise I think it's pretty accurate. What they've done is taken every publicly traded company, restaurant and retail, to look at what they're going to do as far as announcement of new stores this year, and there's going to be about 40,000 new units come online. You see the majority of these, about 40% of them, are within the restaurant category. We as Americans eat out today 35% more than than we did 10 years ago. You think about the dual income homes and the convenience that goes into it. We are eating out a lot, so you're going to see a lot of your growth within this category, and it's going to be the QSRs, quick service restaurants like your fast food and your fast casual. That's really where the focus is. Some different brands to watch. And I just tried to pull out a few to focus on for this area, but these are some of them that are announcing expansions right now. I know that the Aiken Mall has some vacancy issues, and I know it's a big concern for the community, and we're seeing that across the country, this concept of kind of dying malls. And unfortunately, if you just look at the life cycle of real estate, what happened was real estate went into these power centers, which is, you know, the exterior entrance, so you have a Target anchored center and all the usual suspects line up behind it, so you can pull right up to the store you want and go in, get your stuff, and then come back out. So that really challenged the malls. When you think about rent, you're paying for the CAM, common area maintenance, of the mall, that all that interior, those retailers have to pay for that rent on the maintenance on the inside, so they could do a much cheaper deal that was more convenient, and we as shoppers liked it. And so that's why a lot of retailers have moved out of the malls into these power centers. So it's definitely a challenge, but we're starting to see the malls get a new life and a new focus because it's still good real estate. And there's a lot of demand. Investors are putting demands investors are putting demands on Wall Street to do additional expansion because every new store their retailer opens, if it's profitable, that's going to make their investors happy. So they want to come out and say, we're doing 50 new stores in the country, we're doing 100 new stores in the country, because that makes everybody happy, right? So the challenge is, now that they know that they want to do a new store, where can they do it, and how can it be profitable? And malls are still really good real estate. We're seeing some non-traditional uses in these malls, so how do you drive traffic there? Well, you get anything that's going to do daytime employment. So sometimes it could be a medical use, a school, whatever it is that is going to create that traffic within the mall, and you can fill that space that way. And that's been very successful to create more of a mixed use of the mall as opposed to just traditional retail. Looking at a few others that are going to be expanding in this area. These are just a few to mention. You know, Dunham Sports is a big sporting goods. Dick's Sporting Goods is not here yet. Five Below is expanding. There's Ollie's and Big Lots. They like to take second generation space because they can get in at a lower rent level. Gas stations, convenience stores. You know, it's not just about fuel anymore. It's about a marketplace within. You know, has anybody been to Sheetz? Familiar with Sheetz? You can go in and get sushi and cappuccinos. It's awesome. It's a really cool convenience store. So you're going to start to see a movement towards the inside of that convenience store being a lot nicer. And gosh, what an idea to have a clean bathroom. I mean, I travel all over the country and I'm amazed how hard it is to find a nice high-end convenience store with a clean bathroom. The price of gas, that's a whole nother topic, but just briefly hit on it. That's been very good for retail because it's freed up some of that disposable income. So we like gas prices where they're at right now. It's been really good for the industry. Moving forward, and I know you already have a lot of these, but these are some of the restaurants that are expanding, and so you might start to look for a second and third location within the area, especially as it relates to I-20 and the north side of Aiken. There could be a big push for additional fast food restaurants there. So let's talk about some big buzzwords we're seeing right now. Omni-channeling is the big one. That's the seamless integration between e-commerce and bricks and mortar. That is the number one thing retailers are talking about right now. It is just a huge driving factor. The difference of it's clicks and bricks is one of the terms that they like to use. So looking at this, retail stores, same store sales are up about 4%, and that really drives retail expansion plans. How well is their bricks and mortar location doing? The estimates are by the end of this year, e-commerce is going to be about 15% of overall retail sales. Now, that breaks down by category. It's closer to 25 to 30% within apparel and electronics categories. But it is a huge thing that retailers are looking at right now is how do they pull that together, what you're buying online versus how that affects that bricks and mortar store. I love the Shop Local campaign. I love it because what happens is all these retailers talk to each other. So if you want additional retail here, think about every time you swipe your card or you lay down cash, you are placing a vote for what you want to see in the future of the marketplace. All the retailers talk to each other and say, how are your store sales volumes there? Is it above or below average? Does your bricks and mortar location within Aiken, South Carolina do well or not? When you purchase that item online, it doesn't count for that store. So keep that in mind. When you're spending your money here, the retailers talk to each other and it really drives additional expansion to the area. Moving forward, this is a very positive note that consumer confidence is at a 7-year high. And this just means we're comfortable. We're getting out there, we're spending our money again, and it makes the whole industry more comfortable in their real estate choices. You know, a lot of them got burned. They did B and C locations that weren't amazing. They took some risks back in 2005, 6, and 7, and they really got burned on that. So now they're stricter than ever about where they're going to expand and how they're going to expand. And consumer confidence is a good thing because it means you're getting out there and spending your money, and they have a higher likelihood to be profitable. Big question about the $60 khaki question, which is basically what we learned during the recession is we can get a quality product at a lower price point. And the retailers trained us to demand that pretty much. So what's happened is we are going out and we're not necessarily changing our shopping patterns. We are still buying to the discount, value and convenience, or luxury. But that middle is really being squeezed. Middle class Americans are really shrinking as a category anyway, but there's a huge separation right now where your luxury is doing well and value is doing well. But if you give me an average product at an average price point, I don't want it. And so you see JCPenney and all those categories are really struggling because that's what they have. All right, so let's look at construction. I think this is a pretty amazing statistic. This is shopping center deliveries in the millions. So 92 million square feet of shopping center space was delivered from 2005 to 2008. You see during the recession, and that same from 2009 to 2012, there was only 19 million square feet. So very limited new construction. And what happened is the developers that were building these shopping centers during this time, cost of construction went up, cost of land went up, financing was difficult, all those things. But what the retailers were willing to pay stayed the same or even dropped a little bit. We're finally seeing this construction come back on board, but I'll tell you a huge aspect of this is public-private partnerships. Municipalities are stepping up, states are stepping up, and they're offsetting that margin or that loss that the developers are experiencing. So a lot of the new developments that are 100,000 square feet or more right now do have public participation, and so the public sector does have a seat at the table in a lot of this, the public-private partnerships that are happening. So let's talk a little bit about, ultimately, this sounds so obvious, but it's worth saying. When a retailer is going to do a new location, when you look at retail across the country and you say, okay, we want that retailer here, what they're going to do is look at the marketplace. What are the consumer shopping patterns here? How much money do people spend on the product that they sell? They're going to run an estimated sales volume. If they were to open here, what would that mean? And then they're going to look at their next closest location, wherever it is, and how that's going to change shopping patterns, and how much is it going to cannibalize that other store, and can they support both stores within the marketplace, right? And if they can do that and the cost of operations low enough, they're going to estimate a profitability. And they're going to compare you with every other city in the country. And they're going to go to the place where they can be most profitable. So if they project a higher estimated sales here and have a lower cost of operation, then that's a very positive thing, and it makes you more competitive whenever they're looking about where they're going to expand. I'm going to go through this quickly, the process. A lot of people don't understand how long this takes. From the time a retailer identifies a market until they open within your city can take anywhere from 18 to 36 months. It takes a lot of time. So it does matter if you have a plan that is consistent consistent and persistent, both of those things. So what happens is they go out and they announce, we're going to do 100 stores in the country this year, goes to the real estate director. A real estate director might be over 10 states, right? Real estate director can't manage every site in every city in all those states, so he hires a local tenant representation broker. That broker will then go analyze all the markets and say, okay, you require 20,000 people in a 10-minute drive time, 20,000 vehicles per day, and you want to not have any other competition in the market. Okay, well, here's the markets we think you can be profitable. And then they're going to go in and look at the site. You need a hard corner signalized intersection. You need an acre and a half, and you need good ingress, egress, right? So they identify those sites. Then the tenant rep broker will present it to the real estate director. They'll run their performance, see if they can be profitable, and then they'll come to an agreement, letter of intent, yep, this works, and it's all good, and then you get the tenant build out. So it's a long process that goes through, and about a dozen or more people touch it, make that decision. So what is the best practice for the community? What's America's favorite pie? Apple. Everybody knows apple's America's favorite pie, right? So when you think about the pies that they sell in the grocery store, the large pies, right? Everybody buys those, they take them home. So they started making individual pies, individual serving size. Do you know that Apple did terrible? Ends up, Apple is America's second favorite pie. Everybody likes another pie better than Apple, but that's the crowd pleaser. So it's the best seller when you're buying a large pie. This is one way that big data has really influenced a lot of decisions, that what we traditionally think is very common and normal, everybody knows it, not necessarily true. And at Retail Strategies, we have about 7 different software subscriptions to 500,000 different variables. We can really drill down very deep about consumer shopping patterns here and how that might affect retailers. So that's what we're doing. It's where's Waldo? Where's your customer? And how do they line up with what you're selling? You think about Oprah versus Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is worth a lot more money than Oprah, but Oprah's a shopaholic. So she's the customer you want. And that's what retailers are doing. They're identifying who their customer is very specifically and how it matches up with your marketplace. I'm going to cruise through some of these for the sake of time. Looking at a market, they look at radius rings and drive times as opposed to just a city. These are just a few examples. What we look at is gap, and it's areas or categories where people are leaving your market to buy the goods and services. When you leave the market, you buy your goods and services somewhere else, that's considered a leakage. And we look at that whenever we go into a community and break down the categories of leakage, and then help try to recruit those retailers to the city to plug those holes so you can keep all that local. Come up with a prospect list of retailers that are not here that we think could be here and call on them for you. So that's a little bit about what Retail Strategies does, and then an inventory of properties. One thing I would say that it's important to keep in mind is that retailers really like to cluster. So they all like to be right on top of each other. So Whiskey Road, you know, I know there's a lot of traffic right there. They love that. The more traffic, the more they can be right on top of each other. They'd rather be in the parking lot of another retailer than land on the opposite end of town. So keep that in mind with retail as they expand. And so that's just a sampling of what they like to look at and how they like to cluster. So ultimately, bottom line to you is retail is good. Having a strategy is good. Looking long term for how it's going to affect your sales tax base, your jobs, and overall quality of life. Well, thank you very much.